Alright, I'm going to show you guys the next step in building an indoor duck pen. We have our wardrobe from IKEA assembled, put together, and ready to go. It was about $90. What we want to do to protect the bottom of the wardrobe here, this is actually the part that goes against the wall, but we've laid it on its back to get more space for the ducks. But this back is pretty just a simple piece of cardboard, so we want to make sure we protect that. We just use cheap peel and stick tiles. These are about 30 cents a piece from Home Depot. They're pretty easy to use. I don't really have a lot of experience in flooring, but I find them not too difficult. What I do is I try to hold up one end of the tile and place the other ends flush up against your other surfaces. You want to make sure you don't get any gaps between your tiles. When you're pushing it in, I recommend only just pushing right on the side, because if you press too hard, you stick too much to the tile, it will rip when you try to reposition it. You want to make sure you give it a good press so you have a good seal for that tile. Now, as you're tiling, you'll want to make sure that your surfaces are clean. I just keep a damp paper towel just so I can give the edges a wipe just to make sure there's nothing stuck between the tiles. If you have long hair, I recommend you put it in a ponytail just to keep the tiles from sticking to your hair and also to hold your hair back so any potential hair fall doesn't end up stuck between the tiles. This next step, I'm going to show you guys how to use a tile cutter. I highly recommend you get one of these. It makes tiling a duck house that much easier. Cutting by hand is not only difficult, but it often gives you uneven edges. So I've measured the space that I have from my last full-size tile up against to the edge of the wardrobe. Unfortunately, IKEA furniture usually has some pretty strange measurements. You'll get a measurement with 7/16, so it can be a little tricky to cut. When you are cutting these tiles along the edge, it's better to go just a tad shorter than a tad longer. A tad longer won't fit, but if you go just a little bit smaller, it's okay for there to be a tiny gap in there because we're going to come back and we're going to caulk that. So I'm going to mark off my spot here on my tile. And the tile cutter essentially works like a paper cutter. You just slide your tile in, line up your mark with the edge, and then you want to make sure you press it flat up against the back ruler part of the tile cutter, just to make sure then you get a nice parallel cut. And then you just press down. Then you'll have your edge ready to go. And just like with all the other tiles, make sure that the surface is clean, doesn't have any dust or debris on it. Just like with the other tiles, I recommend you get it into the corner first. These ones can be a little bit trickier to put in. You just want to make sure then that your edges line up nicely so that way we have a good seal for the floor so you don't have to worry about leaks. If you're using pre-made furniture or IKEA furniture, you'll definitely want to tile up the sides of the pen. A lot of pre-made furniture comes with these holes here for shelving, and we don't want those to be uncovered, especially with how messy ducks are. So just like with tiling the floor, you want to try to press it all the way up against the sides and seal it on there. It's okay if it doesn't line up perfectly on the bottom because again, we're going to caulk that later. Now, this one I've already went ahead and cut to fit. If you use IKEA furniture, it's not quite 2 feet tall, but that would that's about the length you need.